Welcome everyone. It's January the 8th. This is MUT 313, your last semester of theory here.
Wow.
So congratulations for that. I'm guilty.
100% this is just unless y'all.
Please don't fail.
I'm sorry, you were looking when I thought that.
That's really motivated for you not to fail. Okay. If we've done this before, I apologize. Have we done Opus Brahms Intermezzo Opus 116?
Yeah, we've done Bach, all we've done. Only after Bach. Inventions.
Well, we're going to do some Brahms today.
Yeah.
I emailed you the syllabus and it's posted to USA Online. I didn't feel like printing it out. We'll keep track of the due dates, so I don't think we have anything due right away.
Don't worry, nothing else. Don't worry.
Hey, Alex.
Jalen, are you on the roll? Now Jeremy is viewing us via video these days, but I have 18 people here plus Jeremy.
Yeah.
You're on the roll? All right, that's it then. Well, this is only one page of the 3-page intermezzo. Now, what these are shorter pieces by Brahms, but I think they're really beautiful and amazing. This is the 6th of Opus 116. And they have fantasies and intermezzos.
There's some double sharps in there. That's really scary. I don't think they can do this. Actually, gotta do like a key signature, a chord or something like that. So like it's very C sharp sharp. It just depends on the motion, I guess melodically as well as the harmonics.
Well, it's all based, so it's good D flat.
D flat.
Let's just let's just have all music written in C or A minor. And then just maybe some every now and then.
We should all just.
Here, it's the first day you can.
I can say whatever I want.
No, you can't just doing ourselves at least.
Hey, I can sing. This is a free country, Daphne.
I'm sensitive.
I'm not
Okay.
familiar with
You
those.
see the weather outside?
It's frightful.
Yeah, sure.
Let the fire and sun and light.
Did we hear your auditions?
Yeah, I know, that's what I was telling you.
I would usually take it.
But it's great.
I've never had it. I had to probably Durham.
Okay, we'll start this one more time. We're going to listen to the whole thing, but we only have one page of it. Then we'll go back and just focus on the first page. This goes a bunch of 3 against 2 here for a whole page. I think Brahms turns pretty sentimental in that, a pretty romantic piece. I'm sure you understand from all your music history wanderings that Brahms felt like he was moving forward in the Germanic tradition of like Beethoven, and he eschewed the things that Liszt and Wagner were doing, which but their music does have romantic qualities, both of them do. So anyway, let's get started. It's not enough that my office is across from 24-hour trumpet playing, but now when
Here's
I
some good
teach, I see that Doc Stevenson's coming.
Yeah, if he doesn't
Doc
die
is-
That wasn't a joke, that's serious. If he doesn't die first. I think he's 90 now.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, let's do fun stuff. Ready to get lost?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at that first chord.
One.
Okay, very good.
I got that.
Alright, so now we have this note moving to this note, and these notes staying the same. That's a courtesy accidental there. Okay. this chord is a root position 2 chord, isn't it? Can you see that? Everybody clear on that?
Yeah.
Root position 2 chord. Yeah. What is this chord? How do you explain that chord? Okay, maybe we'll.
There's a lot of like half steps in there.
They've removed the chord from the piano.
Them Bell Boys being lazy.
Where did that
Let's get
take
down
you
there.
to?
It's really messed up.
You should write a strongly worded letter of complaints.
Lose this piano.
Yeah, there is an analog option here, isn't there?
But
Well, that's just pissy as all get up. Here we go. Who's doing this? Why? Why me? Now I got to climb on the floor. Pretty soon I'm gonna be tripping over it. It's a freaking pencil sharpener played me. It's been there like
He doesn't even like it.
since the building opened.
He got like mirror.
People used to actually sharpen pencils. But it was steam powered back then. Okay, here's the first chord. I think we can all hear E very E there. Okay, now. So there is some dissonance involved in the second beat. So think about what would this mean? Could that not be a suspension or a retardation? You could see that? Okay, could not this be a chromatic passing tone? This being suspension. Now, this would be a retardation and a suspension, so a 7/8 and a 9/8 suspension over A, right? But the resolution is over a change of bass. So this doesn't become a retardation, it just progresses to there. Okay? Now, could this have been retardation to this chord instead? Maybe, but we don't really think of 1 as moving to 2. So what chord would that chord be? Let's say if this did move to A and C sharp, that's a 4 chord, isn't it? So the progression of 1 to 4 to 2 makes sense in that we have a 9 and a 7 and a that's a very intriguing figured bass there, isn't it?
It's kind of scary, actually.
Yeah. As they say in the videos, it is what it is. Yeah. All right, so what we're hearing, we'll say I played that progression like like it could have become. That totally makes sense. It's not nearly as interesting as okay, that chord I just played is the next phrase. Do you see how the little slurry looking things are phrases? Okay, even for trombones. All right, so what do we call the third beat
The third beat?
Of which measure?
of the first full measure? Well, I think the double sharp speaks to, again, a chromatic passing tone. And if that's the case, what we have left is 5/7, isn't it?
Yes.
It is. It's 5/7, again, /2, moving to 3. Okay. This might be a little more special. If we did show the movement there. Now, if we have 5/7, what comes next?
1 glue. Probably. Or 6. I don't know.
Okay, well,
I'll look. So guess.
let's think of this as both this to this looks very much like a suspension, doesn't it? So I think we're going to call it that. And it's over a change of bass, but it's literally not a change of bass, change of octave. Okay, this is also a suspension, but it resolves more quickly, doesn't it? So the 9/8 resolves here, and the 4/3 resolves there. Are we clear on that? So this is a 1 chord going to also a 1 chord, and then it's just one of those days, I guess.
Somebody has really bad gas.
I started on the tuba and then I switched. No, I started on the trumpet and then I switched to the tuba in the 8th grade.
And then you played with the Atlanta Youth Symphony.
I did.
How do you make this drum?
He told us freshman year.
I played in the Atlanta. I played in the Atlanta Big Boy Symphony too.
Did you play there?
Nice. There's only one piece. Is that Sibelius piece that has 2 tuba parts. My teacher was the primo, and you know what? He showed up frickin' late, and the guy's already conducting, and he's on the side of the stage going, "Play the first part. Play the first part." I am playing the first part because you didn't show up. It was rather embarrassing. His father had been the tuba player for the Atlanta Symphony, and he's been the tuba player for the Atlanta Symphony for a long, long time. Okay, now this is the end of the first phrase. And think about loosely like in our binary studies, you know, but think about this as a phrase, and maybe there's a 2 phrase that forms a period. So what would this do? This basically goes from 1 to 1, doesn't it? Now, what happens next, I find very intriguing, and I hope you will too. The next phrase, let's look at it, how it goes. You see the big arc thing that looks like a slur? That's the next phrase right here. And look, if you look at it, does it not look like it ends on a 5/7 chord with that passing E natural? Do you see where we are in the last measure here? The next to last beat, where the end of the phrase is.
Yeah.
Doesn't that look like 5/7 in the key of E? Now, what has happened in the first phrase is we go from 1 to 1. But in the second phrase, we do start on a 1 chord that is just like this chord, isn't it? Except the bass someone has done a wrong thing here. And I don't want to call out any names, but
Is me.
okay, so now before I write all this on the board, oh whatever, I'll write it on the board. Maybe it won't be raining when we get out.
This is a pretty simple. Is it just like an aesthetic thing? What happens when you open it? That's for shooting up drugs. That's what it is. Everyone's got drugs in it.
I thought that had just like a small.
She's getting married.
Amberlynn, you didn't bring enough for the entire class.
I'm not doing it.
Okay, now I've done something. I've written something on the board. Now, what can you tell me about the second phrase that would be informed from the first phrase? I will play a little bit of the second phrase for you. Look carefully and you will see. Oop, wrong chord. Oh, that's a hard chord. That's the wrong note.
You can tell the difference.
Okay, what can you tell me about the second phrase that has to do with the first phrase? Why are we even in school today? The national championship is happening tonight.
We usually start on Tuesday. I don't know why this is. Like, we usually start on a Tuesday or a Wednesday.
UCF won the national championship.
Okay,
Yeah, they are. They were.
They put a 3 and 9 BYU.
back to what we're doing here.
Actually, it was an actual.
I do think it's important that we keep the defense off the field. I think when Clemson beat us last year and Auburn beat us this year, we just couldn't get the defense off the field. And we ran out of gas and we got beat.
Well, that's really good offense.
Well, when we played Clemson this time,
Kirby Smart's
we needed the defense. If they weren't going to stay off the field, what did they need to do? Score a touchdown.
Hey, you know what they say? You score more points than the other team, you win.
That's right. No
Roll
matter
Tide.
who your coach is. Okay, have we not yet got the answer to this? Because I'm waiting. What is the most chromatic line in the first phrase? Okay, what is the same about the two phrases?
There's a 2 chord in them.
That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something exactly.
They're
Tisher is pretty much constantly going up to that.
Okay, watch this, children. See that?
Ooh, okay.
Do you see that the rest of the chord also has an inversion? Now, so what happens here, instead of being root position, we're in the 6/4 position, which is as close to 5 as you can get, right? So it is a 1 chord, but it's very compromised 1 chord. It's more 5. Now, this bass note has to, what is this now, suspend, what is all this business? I don't know. Could we call, okay, if it's going to this chord, what chord did it go to here? It went to an A chord, so this could be a 4/6 chord, right? But it resolves over a change of bass. So now we have F sharp, A sharp, C sharp, E. So what is this chord? Anybody know where I am? I mean, generally I get
Major two?
here. Well, we're in the key of E, not D.
Is it F sharp, A sharp, C sharp?
All right, you're totally right.
All tied or whatever.
But what I said is true. We're in the.
So he's not certain.
Okay, but more functionally with that A sharp, what is
Is
it?
it like a 5/5?
Yeah, I think so. But even more weirdly, it's 5/4/3, isn't it? It's the second inversion chord. 5/6/4/3 of 5. And what does this do? This is the same chord, isn't it? But in root position. Now it's just 5/7 of 5, right? And the E sharp is a chromatic neighbor note, okay? So that's all pretty cool. So this is a passing tone. This is the only, these are chord tones at this point. And this is a 7 to 8 retardation, but it goes down. So creepily, this again is sort of a 4 chord. You just really can't explain it by sound as much of anything other than it's heading strongly to there. So here's the beginning of the piece at the very beginning, That's very E major, right? Strong E major. Now we take this next phrase, not the right chord, sorry. Now that is really the only stable chord in the whole phrase, isn't it? Is the ending 5/7 chord. So here we get to 5/7 and 5/7. So you would have to characterize this phrase in 1 and this phrase in 5, wouldn't you?
Yes.
So it's not really antecedent consequence at that point. It's more like consequence antecedent, sort of backwards that way. Now let's see how this might play out in real time. Okay, so we've gotten to the end of the second phrase. Now, let's look together without Dr. Durant writing on the board particularly. The very last note of the first line, can everyone find that note? Does it look like an F sharp A C sharp chord? So we could say that that's a 2 chord. We could also say that we've legitimately modulated to F sharp minor. But can we say that? Let's see. Now, does this have any familiarity for us? That seem like it was in the key of F sharp minor? So let's think of this phrase in the Roman numeral of 2. Does that make sense? So now let's specifically, apparently not.
Are you okay?
Okay, the first chord, let's just call that 1 in the key of F sharp minor. Does everyone know where we are?
Yes.
Even those who have not slept well because they played video games all night.
No, I was just excited for this one.
You know, all those expensive video cards from NVIDIA, my son designed them. Yes, he did. And now he's designed the fastest computer in the world using that chip.
Can
Can you hook us up?
No.
How fast is this
Is he the one
computer?
is he?
You know the wrong word though?
Just need new graphics.
No.
He gave me some for Christmas. What did he give me?
Is your son a baby and something?
Oh, he gave me a hybrid 3. Oh, it's wicked too. I wish I could get it.
Come in here and just take this ball around.
He also gave me a monetary gift because of all of his goodness that has come, all of the countless blessings that have been bestowed upon him.
Well,
Did any of your kids give you money this year?
Yeah, they did.
All 3 of them?
I got 3 kids. One I give money to, one gives me money, and the other one's pretty neutral. He'll pay for stuff.
My kids are a bunch of freeloaders. They asked me to pay for their college. I can't even pay.
My classical pianist, he doesn't make too much, but he's about to inherit some money from my sister. Oh, you know, you've all known me for a while, except for some of you. You know that I'm a confident person in a very low-key way. I know what I know what I can do, and I know what I can't do. But I went to my sister's memorial, and it happened to be in Atlanta the day of the great snowstorm. So my brother, who is a preacher and wrote the eulogy for my sister, couldn't get out of California to get to Atlanta. They got to the airport at 6:30 in the morning and went back to their house at like 8:30 that night. It was just my son who lives in California, he got the last flight that left California to Atlanta. So then I picked him up at the MARTA train station at 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon. You think, oh, the traffic's going to be terrible in Atlanta. No, no one was on the road except me because of the snow. Then we had to hike out of our hotel to get Mediterranean food. All the restaurants just shut down. But it was good food. But then what happened was I had to read the eulogy. And you know me, I talk in front of people all the time. It was a heartbreaking experience, I have to tell you. I just sobbed the whole time, and this is pages of stuff. It was so awkward. I hope you never have to do that. That's all that I hope for you. But I realized something. I can't just do anything I say I can do. Okay, you can't make it, I'll read the eulogy. Bad idea. Could have had anyone else do it. But no, I'll do it. We've had way too many eulogies in the past few years. Okay, so, next chord. I think it again is that minor 4 chord in the key of F sharp minor with the doubly suspended note and the chromatic passing tone, which then changes bass to, who can spell that bad boy? Again, there's a suspension though, isn't there? What is the chord? I believe,
Are you on the third beat?
I'm on the second beat.
Oh.
What is the second beat? It's again sort of suspended-y, isn't it?
It looks the same as the first line, but in F sharp.
It does. So what would that,
My name's Rise. I get one.
So I put the 2.
so that's 2. Yes, of course it's 2. But I don't know, but so G sharp, B, D sharp. That's the chord. The A is suspended again. Does that make sense? And then that A resolves to the G sharp, and now this is supposed to be a 5 chord, 5/7 chord with a chromatic passing note to here. Do you see that? So the last bit there is 5/7 in the key of F sharp, going to F sharp with a, again, the double suspension thing. Are we all good with that being a phrase in F sharp minor?
Yes.
Okay. All of this has prepared us for the next phrase.
They took away the back little walk through.
Okay. When y'all go in and out of the class, you'll have to tag in and out, like in this wrestling.
Tag me, please.
There's only one person out at a time. Okay, next phrase! Oh, that ain't the note. That ain't the note. Okay, this.
It's okay, guys.
Did you all take a picture of this? Because it's about to get erased. Got some heavy duty theorizing there. Okay, one other question. From what you've seen so far this semester, could you believe that I can analyze something other than Bach?
Yes.
Okay, well just wait for the next phrase. All right? Then you'll really become believers.
We're waiting.
That's good for the afterlife too. Now, let's pretend that the phrase ends on the bird's eye, also called a fermata. Okay? So how many notes do we have there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Does everyone know where we are?
Yes.
Great,
Phrase.
everyone.
Are you an empty nester?
That must be me. Yeah, that's cool. They keep talking.
It's not a big deal.
Oh,
Good.
you gotta control it. Control it.
Okay, kids and caboodles, what is that first chord? If I was just going to describe it, it's going to be a D7 chord, isn't it? It's a 5-7 chord built on D. D, F sharp, A, C. That makes no sense in our current tuning systems, so we've got to figure other stuff out. But we'll just leave that where it is for now. Let's get all the right accidentals in there because that'll help it make more sense. Okay, that's what it is, right? Do you see that? Okay, now this is what it is also.
What it is.
Okay, so that really looks like B, D sharp, F sharp, A, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 5, 7, 5, 6, 5 in the key of E. Okay, so we're going to write that 5, 6, 5 in the original key. Okay, we're good with that. This is 5, 7 of G, but we're gonna think about this a little different way maybe. Okay, that be all right?
Sure.
Okay, clock is ticking, literally, it's ticking. So we've got to make hay before the sun don't shine, or something like that.
Over yonder.
Why are we making
At least we have some purpose in life.
Horses.
Okay, so now this should go to an E chord, right?
Yes.
But it doesn't exactly.
I'll try that other stuff too.
It doesn't.
It doesn't exactly go to an E chord.
Okay.
Now, what is this chord here? This chord here is really clearly a chord, isn't it? That's C sharp. C sharp minor. Okay, so let's just call this 1 in C sharp minor. Now this, I believe, is 5 in C sharp also, and this is
Justifies that. Just stay in
what is this? This is 1, major 1 in C sharp minor. So what I believe is this modulates to C sharp minor.
Right.
And then it has a Picardy third. Okay, so what is this chord here? I believe is a C sharp E G chord that's transitioning through this note here. So this note is suspended. This note is a chord tone. This note is a passing, chromatic passing tone. So this would, in fact, be a 1/6 chord in the C sharp minor. So what really happens is this is kind of like a deceptive cadence to that, isn't it? Does that make sense? this 5, 6, 5 in the key of E is deceptive to that. Alright, tag in.
Eric, you're good to go.
I could leave that.
So, what explains this? Well, let's think about the different explanations it could be. I don't know.
Could it be a flat set chord in E major?
It's a borrowed 2 chord,
What is the, yeah.
clearly.
Well, well, we only got a few minutes to solve this.
We could always think about it and come back to it.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. What